is exactly 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back to Sunday Live here. This is in television. We're telling you earlier on, we have an interview one-on-one with Charles Owino. He is the head of the National Communications Center. And we're talking politics of security. Welcome, Dugiangu.
Thank you.
Good to see you. I know you've had a busy day out there in Naivasha, and thanks so much for your time. First question, let's go to the murder, assassination, whatever you want to call it, of Kasipul Member of Parliament, Sir Charles Owino. Was that a shocker for you?
Yes, I think so. I've personally known Were for quite some time, before he became a Member of Parliament, when he was still in Meru. I was also involved when he had a case of some lady who apparently disappeared, and we had a lot of discussions with him. And when he went to run for the first time, and he lost to Magwanga, and then running for the second time and winning the election. And also he married my cousin, the first wife who passed on. And he also married a daughter to my former boss, the police officer, a very nice young girl. So I've known Were for some time. I've known about those village discussions, and usually, you know, Nilots, we have a lot of hatred amongst ourselves. So I took it to be normal differences, political differences. But I didn't expect it to go to that extent where an individual would lose his life because of maybe political differences or such matters. I think that was a little bit extreme. And more so, if it will come out that it has been organized by local competitors, then that would be very unfortunate, because many a times you find what is presumed to be political assassinations to be people from different ethnic backgrounds, people with high-level competition levels, but not at that village level. I still believe that the level of a Member of Parliament, as much as they come to Parliament in Nairobi, but it is still a village political affairs. It's not a national or political competition. So from the outlook of things, though the matter is still under investigations and in court, we may not discuss much about it, the nitty-gritties, but I think if it comes out that it is local disagreements, then I think it would be a little bit extreme. Because even if you accuse him for high-handedness, but I think there would have been a better way to manage him instead of killing him. You kill a man, you kill the family. He has children to go to school, he has many people. So I think that was a little bit extreme.
Yes. But this was a man who had expressed fears for his life. Yes. And so police were put on the spot as to, okay, so how does this happen when he had already rang the alarm bell, so to speak?
Usually when there's a complaint, you find that you follow up a complaint as it is. For example, if he made up a complaint to the DCI or any police station, then what would happen is that many a times maybe he had mentioned the name of the person who they had differences with. So possibly what you will do is to maybe call the person, record his statement, and have it in record. And maybe if there's any tangible information or link on this matter, then you can take action. But you see, when there is no link as at that particular time, then you would just expect the person to be more cautious in what he's doing. Because you see, even if you are to provide security, you may not provide security to each and every person and to his doorstep. And equally, you'd also find that there is standard requirement for a Member of Parliament. If you say that you want to give more security to a particular Member of Parliament, interestingly, many of them would even come with complaints which may not exist for them to get extra security. Yeah. So it's quite tricky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of security, now, are these bodyguards vetted before they are assigned their respective MPs? Are they ever vetted, or you know, where do they come from?
Number one, we presume that any police officer is supposed to be a person of good character, because otherwise you should be sacked from service. So if you are still in service and you don't have a bad record, then we presume that this is a good officer, this is a good person. And equally, when most people join politics, or when you get a position today, Jeff, that other police officers are aware that you may need bodyguards, you'll find a number of them from your village streaming, coming to you, including your own wife, may tell you, why don't you take my cousin? Because they know these officers, when they become bodyguards and they go to Parliament, maybe there's some little special allowance that they will earn. And also, you know, we have officers working in very difficult places. Lamu, Budei, Mandera, Anti-Stock Theft Unit, GSU. You'd find them, they feel that by becoming a bodyguard, then it's a little bit relief on the difficulties they are facing at work, and some little allowance and so on. So you find that there's no specific special training apart from simply them being police officers. And you find that many people will pick their relatives or will pick their friends. There are a few who would tell you, no, I don't want my tribesman. I don't want somebody listening to my conversations and so on, or I want a competent person. So, save for the presidential escort, which is a very special team, trained both locally and internationally, and special units like the REC and so on, you find that members of parliament are not even allowed to pick officers from General Service Unit. They pick officers from Administration Police Service currently, most of them, because that is where we have the VIP protection. But I think what would happen going forward is that maybe Parliament would need to have a budget for training of these officers, because the training for VIP is very tough. And a number of them, if they are put under the proper training that I understand, those who are not competent would just fall off. They will not continue. So I think what Parliament, because budget is restrained, the police may not be able to, because even these members of Parliament, you give them a bodyguard today, tomorrow they say, I don't want this one, I want another one, and like that. So Parliament may need to put in some special money so that we have special training, maybe for this officer, so that we don't strain the Inspector General's budget, specifically to train bodyguards. So
they cherry pick who serves as
yes, they request through a letter to the Inspector General or the Deputy Inspector General requesting for a specific person to be their bodyguard. It's a choice they have to make.
So what level of security are they entitled at that level?
Just one single security officer.
One bodyguard?
Just one?
Yeah, one bodyguard.
Okay.
Many a times there isn't much risk. It's rare to find such cases. So the probability of such risk is very limited.
That's what you say, but you know, this was in, well, I wouldn't say broad daylight, it was early evening, 7:30 in the evening, right?
Yes.
A guy on a border. Yes. Obviously, they knew where he was going, they knew his route, they knew everything. And it looked like it was a deliberate act.
Yes, it was. From investigations, it must have been, and it must have been organized and planned very well. And they must have gone for a hardcore criminal who maybe did not care the implications, because there are people who are hardcore. And they are the only persons who may be able to undertake such an act. Broad daylight, in the evening, taking a risk knowing that the Member of Parliament could also be having bodyguards, and there could also be other officers, maybe. And that is why, and it is very tricky, Jeff, when you are attacked in a vehicle, all of you in a vehicle. You remember the Muchai case, where all of them were shot. Yeah. If the worst comes the worst, they would shoot even all of you. So all of them were shot. And you know, always, usually what happens is that when there is a gunshot, usually what happens when there's a gunshot is the first thing you would do in terms of instinct would be to take a cover. You see, like in this place, we are in an open ground. So if there's a gunshot, definitely the training tells you that if you hear the gunshot, then you're not dead. You've not been shot. So the first instinct is to calm down. And if you calm down in an open space like this, you will get a place to take cover, and you will look around to see if there's any criminal before you, any person who is shooting before you move on. But in a restricted place like a motor vehicle, it's very tricky, because also there's a risk many a times of, because you need to cock your gun. So well-trained, specialized officers like the ones you see in presidential escort, their bullets are always in the barrel. And you see, carrying a firearm with a bullet in the barrel needs a special skill, because otherwise you would shoot yourself,
Correct.
through touching the trigger by bad luck, or if you fall down, it requires a very specialized person or a very specialized training. So an ordinary policeman who maybe have not gone to high level of training on how to manage his gun with the bullet in front, then it becomes very tricky even for him to use. Like, I sympathize with the 2 officers who have been arrested, because there must be some more detailed information other than not having acted, because I believed that the span of time that was used to shoot this gentleman, the MP, and the person living, I'm sure he must have used the shortest time possible. So if you took cover and you fell in the car and trying to come up and taking action, it would be very tricky. And I think the lawyers would be very strong on that. But I am sure there must be another added evidence that may be linked these security people to the killers. Otherwise, it's a very tricky moment.
The National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, in response, has called for the vetting of the security that is according to the MPs. But if I'm understanding you correctly, they have a hand in who is protecting them.
Yes, that is true. Well, fine, then it means that you will have to give maybe 3 officers, 3 choices or 4 choices, and then they pick one. Or the police will have to come up with a very special team for protecting VIPs. The same way we are training the presidential escort team, the police may decide to have a special, well-trained team to protect the MP. So you pick from the pool. Yes, you know, police recruitment is so good. The police service recruits people from every community, every ward. You cannot go to recruit in a particular constituency and then you pick from one ward. No, you must pick from all the wards. And the police pick all tribes in the country. So even if it is your tribes person you want, if it's somebody from your ward you want, you will easily get from the pool. So I think something will have to be done to have more specialized training for the bodyguards.
Tell me something, Charles. You said MPs are entitled to 1 bodyguard, right?
Yes, yes.
And yet a lot of them, when they arrive at events, they are surrounded by goons. Lots of them. Where do these goons come from? Who are they? Who pays them? What's the deal?
Fortunately, I've campaigned before for a political position. Usually when you are campaigning, you find you have a team of people who work with you, and some who offer their security, because even at that time, you are not entitled for a bodyguard. So usually what happens is that politics have become very tricky, where you've seen politicians fighting, people who want to get into your position also trying to fight. So what happens is many a times you find them in company of young men or people from within that region that move around with them. But also in the process, they earn. They show the might, they show the strength of their boss, and they support him, and they cheer him.
Is that legal?
You've seen where when politicians are going to places, even in this, like we find people are going to, let's say like now we were in Migori last week, and you find the president is visiting. So you find a particular politician ferrying people, so that when his name is called, then there's huge apples. Then the leaders think this is a very popular person. You can see the way people are yelling. In my county, I have a gentleman that no matter how broke he is, he must carry boda to public meetings, so that when he comes in, then people have to clap for him, and women have to make a lot of noise. Umesema umetibu crowd. It's called kutibu crowd. So it's normal. It happens amongst politicians.
And how does a police officer operate in that environment?
Definitely, his main objective is to keep an eye to his boss. Because you can see the way people are behaving. If people are cutting themselves with pangas, what stops somebody from coming with a panga to cut his boss? So the security man will particularly be concerned about the security of his boss. So
the question of goons that was raised by Jeff, whereas Passing has raised concerns around political intolerance. Some say Homa Bay is a hotbed. I don't know. I don't come from there. But what's your response to that?
Homa Bay is tricky. You know, Homa Bay politics is almost the whole of Nyanza is tricky politics. But you see, Homa Bay is where, I'm sorry to mention this, the PS for Interior comes from. He's young, he's brilliant, and he's cool in his nature. And it is believed he belongs to Mrengo ya Rais. Then we have the ODM fraternity, who are really scared of any person getting into their space. Because you find they say, we are democratic, we are it is Orange Democratic Movement, a movement of democracy. But at the same time, you hear them saying, this is our zone. That's not practical in politics. So what's happening in Homa Bay is that there's that fear of unknown. And I know currently, I don't want to support any person. I don't want to support the people in Orange Democratic or the people in UDA. I would want to be as neutral as possible. But I know there is a huge interest among our brothers in ODM to have the PS fired from his position. Because the position is a position of influence. And therefore, as we move towards 2027, there's that fear. If this person is still in this position, what would happen? I remember when I went to campaign, and then there was intervention at the highest level that I dropped from my campaign process and come back to the service. The person, even after getting my letter, the minister then ensured that they were talking with somebody from my county who said, if this guy is in this position again, he may support a different person and I may lose. So that is what is happening in that region. I know there are a lot of problems, but I know people are trying to whip emotions and try to drag the name of the young man who is PS in this, but with a simple intention, to have him sacked, to have him removed from that position. And the reason as to why they are doing that is because of fear that this position is quite influential. But I don't think that should be any reason, because after the coming in of the broad-based government, everybody from both sides are working very well, and I don't see why anybody should be scared. But from what I've heard from the ground, is that there's that fear. So what we are saying, if a person is involved, no matter his position, killing someone is something which is not acceptable, but it would not be fair to drag any other person's name whom we think that maybe is not involved. But it's not about thinking. The way this investigation has been carried out and the person who pulled the trigger is in the hands of the police, and the firearm itself has been recovered. You see, usually, if Jeff, I want to, from my experience, if today I've sponsored that you be eliminated, and I have power, that person who has come to eliminate you, I'll also make sure he's eliminated before, because I have the power. Because if I leave him, then he will say, oh, hired me. So if I have power, if you have power and you have sent A to eliminate B, then you, the person with power, when A eliminates B, you eliminate A. But if you see a situation where investigation has been carried out transparently, every person arrested, they are able to speak, they are able to give information, then you can be able to tell that even if there's a hand of an influential person, then he must be a very thick person.
Charles, we were talking about Migori a moment ago, and the incident last week.
You wanted to go to the shoe incident?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just ask
before the shoe?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up to that. If all these political players have their security, quote-unquote security teams, Jeff, you've used the term, goons, isn't that then a recipe for chaos?
Not really. These are just excited youth. Unless something extremely bad happens, like they are provoked, they rarely attack. The only cases where we have seen people attacking is like those cases of Kasipul, where we saw people cutting themselves with pangas, which is very primitive. I believe politics, people can disagree to agree, and that is why I say this was so bad. Even if you have disagreed, and from where I sit, whoever committed this crime must face the arm of the law appropriately. It's only unfortunate that we still have, we are quite tolerant on issues of hanging people. You know, our laws, we have become quite slow. I think for a very long time, nobody has been hanged for committing murder, because I think international human rights is trying to ensure that we get alternative means. But I can tell you, in countries where people get hanged for such capital offenses, people rarely commit such stupid offenses. And it is so bad that after 60 years independence, we can disagree politically, and then you kill your opponent. It can be very bad.
Yeah. Let's get back to the shoe incident in Migori. It could have gone a lot worse, the way it looked. It could have gone... What if it wasn't a shoe? What if it was a missile?
I don't know whether, Jeff, you got... I was personally in Migori, and I stood very close to the president. And we had to replay the shoe issue. I would not want to appear defensive. But what happened, everyone, if you look at that, and I'll send that clip to you, if you look at the way everyone was taking a photo when the president was speaking. And they were not far from the president. So this guy decided to use shoes. If you look at it, I'll send you the clip. You started to use, and then another one came and said, "Toa hii kitu hapa." It went off, and it went towards the direction of the president. And you could see even the following day, the MP really tried and said, no, this was a coincidence, but we don't want to defend it.
But the motive notwithstanding, it still posed a security risk.
On the president.
Let me tell you, it's always a security risk. And the thing is, as a president, what do? You stop talking to people? You stand... The president is properly secured, by the way. And within the proximity where the president is, a lot of checks have been done. A lot of checks have been done. And that is why you find that there are many officers, even within the crowd, special officers, even within the crowd. It is very difficult to attack the president.
But how prepared can they be, given the roadside rallies? Somebody, it's an entourage, and then they just decide they're going to stop at this market. How secure can they be on a sunroof?
By the way, it is never a coincidence. He never just stops anywhere that we do not have advanced parties, people who had been in that place. It's well organized. And it is known in his route, he's most likely to meet people in this place. And you'll always find a number of at least 100 people in security within that vicinity. Otherwise, he will not be allowed to come out. He's properly controlled.
Do you think these roadside speeches on top of SUVs or sunroofs, you think is going to change the way politicians do their speeches on the road?
You know what we call it impromptu, meet the people tour. Even a member of parliament, as you walk within your constituency, you can find a crowd. And you know politicians like crowds. A politician is a politician, whether he's a president, whether he's a prime minister, a politician gets excited with crowds. So many a times they'll stop and greet people and talk to them. It's normal for them. So it's hard work for the security people to ensure that the leaders are protected, and more so the head of state.
But are there lessons to take from that incident?
A lot of lessons, and everyday security. And you know, security officers don't just take lessons from what happens here. They also take lessons from what happened in other countries. Remember, we had a lot of security challenges in this country, especially because of terrorism. A lot of security challenges. But our security people have really worked on it, fought on it. And we have a very good intelligence network system that works very closely with the sub-county security committee. We have an intelligence officer, the county security officer, the county security committee, the national security committee. All these levels, we have very good intelligence officers. And Kenya does very well in its intelligence collection. It's only that we are not patriotic enough. I don't know what has happened. We are not patriotic enough, and it is important that we teach our people that securing our country is very important, and especially if we look at the countries around us that have had chaos. We are lucky we have a vibrant constitution. We are lucky we carry out elections after every 5 years. If, for example, Jeff, today, we don't feel comfortable with the leader we have in place, the best thing is to keep our cool, wait for the next elections, and if it is taken that the president loses his election, he will walk and go home. You remember Trump lost his election. Then he came back. So what happens is that once somebody has become that level of a president, he has already made history. So what we are saying is that as a country, we need to learn to keep on talking to our people, to tell them that tolerance is important, securing our country is important, and we need to grow as a country to ensure that we are safe. Because if we bring insecurity into our own country, then where will we go to? Our neighbors here, Somalia, you know the way it is. Uganda will not accommodate us. We are so many. Tanzania, you understand what is it. We cannot go to DRC Congo. So I think we should maintain the peace and make use of our democracy and political positions to ensure that we embrace ourselves. We have multi-party democracy. Let people not say this is our zone. Let's remain brothers and sisters. Competition is healthy. Through competition, people work hard. Through competition, people ensure that there's more development, because today you get a member of parliament, he comes, he works hard, tomorrow he goes, another one comes, and that is how we achieve our development. We have grown enough.
Yeah, bottom line, Charles, what's to prevent what happened to Kasipul MP from happening again? What's to prevent it?
Number one, we have very high rate of unemployment. We need to admit that. In fact, our major cause of insecurity is every day we are churning in people into the outside world after school. We need to work harder. We have our geopolitical location is so good as Kenya. We need to think on how we can work harder, industrialize ourselves, create more jobs, ensure that most of the people we churn out of school have employment and so on, so that we don't give space for idle people. That is number one. We need to really, really think as a country. How do we create more employment opportunities? And that is why you found that the government is trying to promote people going to technical schools. You know, Jeff, when you and I went to school, we had several levels. After fourth form, a few people are churned. You go to advanced level, a very small people. You go to university, a very small group. And we had even technical schools, where it took some of the best students. Many of them never even went to university, but they're the top engineers we have today. They went for polytechnic diploma. They got employed in various areas. They were taken even for engineering courses in UK and so on. So education should go systematically. And we should think of how do we industrialize our country. We are lucky we have Lamu Port here. Lamu Port is a transshipment port. The only port we have along that area is only the port of Koga in South Africa. The next one is Lamu. So most countries that surround us are landlocked. Ethiopia, South Sudan, Uganda, DRC, and even some parts of Tanzania are very far from Dar es Salaam. They are closer, like Bukoba and even Mwanza are closer to Kisumu. So if we can invest more on our rail, be able to carry heavier goods, be able to develop our country, bring in more investors, industrialize our country. Today, we sell coffee, isn't it? And we sell coffee that is unprocessed. When it comes back in terms of Nescafe, how much do we pay for it? So we need to rethink as a country. We don't need to stop thinking. You know, politics should be, I think, according to me, should be the last place that an intelligent person should think of going to, if you ask me, because we should put more brains in industrialization, in manufacturing, and even in agriculture. We have very good weather. We have a very good country. Even the weather of Northeastern is very good for producing animals and getting leather and doing many other things. So I think Kenya should think industrial. We should think developing ourselves. We should think how we can absorb most of these young people into employment. The president has a very good idea of taking people out of the country, even the housing thing that you hear about.
I'm going to bring you back just quickly as a last word on security.
Yes.
How do police operate in and remain neutral in environments, those politically charged environments where everybody has their set of goons and it appears violence is part of the game?
I've just told you that most of the times the police have recruited everybody from the country. So you will find that if you go to Homa Bay, or if you go to Siaya, or if you go to Kiambu, most of the times you find that the commanders there don't necessarily come from those regions. And you find that 3/4 of the officers don't come from those regions. They have just gone there to work and provide security. And that is what ensures that there's neutrality in what you do. Equally, what's happening is that police officers are brought up under, many people think police are rogue, but the discipline in the service. You know, the first training alone, when you go for training in Kiganjo or GSU, when you come back home after 6 months, your mother will call you, Owino. You say, yes, madam. It's so much in your mind that you even think, you stop thinking, your mother becomes your boss. She stops being your mother. Somebody calls you, say, yes, sir. That is why you find we call everybody yes, sir, even sometimes you are junior, if you're not careful, because we are used to a certain strict discipline. So the discipline that officers have is so high. The only thing we should start learning how to embrace our police officers, and we start thinking, how do we make it a noble service? You see, if we are taking the best brains to do medicine and engineering, why are we not taking the best brains to do our security? We are not saying that people who have lower grades cannot work, but you see, there are levels in which they can work. They also form part of most disciplined. They also don't run away from work. But we should think, how do we embrace the police? How do we make it a well-paying job so that our forensic experts, you know, we train very good forensic experts. In 2021, I had a boy from my area who was an A-plane student from Alliance, recruited as a police officer. He came to me, told me, I want to be a police officer. I told him, apply. We have done it. And then I asked him, why do you want to become a police officer? I want to be a forensic investigator. So he went to Kiganjo, he cleared. He's now currently in, he's done his master's in forensic science from Strathmore. The police have started training him, taking them for international courses. But suddenly you'll find such a brilliant boy with a degree in electrical and electronic engineering from University of Nairobi and an A student from Alliance in the police. Many people don't believe they are there. And this person will soon be picked by a bank or a certain institution because of low pay. So we have what it takes to train. We have those ballistic experts, those people who can be able to tell which bullet head has come from this gun, which one has handwriting experts. We have good officers, ICT, very good officers in the service. But the question is, how do we make our service noble?
Absolutely. How do you make the service noble?
Yeah.
Charles Owino Ruat, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Always together.
Well, Kabisa.
Asante.
That's Charles Owino. He's the head of the National Communications Center. We're going to take another quick break. Come back. There's still sports left. Keep tweeting at Kwenanga Jeff.
At Obaras, at Citizen TV Kenya.
The hashtag Sunday Live. Sunday Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.